Tonight, frustration as the government appeals the closure of migrant hotels. We're in Cheshunt, where protesters are gathering. Earlier, the Home Office said they want to close asylum seeker hotels, but they need time to make it happen.
We're clearing up the mess of the previous government, but this needs to be done in an ordered and managed fashion.
Also ahead, the Doctor Who actor Noel Clarke loses his libel case after being accused of sexual harassment and bullying. Ahead of a big weekend of carnival celebrations, we meet the Notting Hill residents preparing for a more relaxed bank holiday and staying with carnival. Remembering the reggae pioneer and his legendary sound system. Good evening. There has been another twist in the government's use of migrant hotels. The Home Office is seeking the right to appeal against the High Court's ruling, stopping the use of the Bell Hotel in Epping to house asylum seekers. The government insists it remains committed to closing migrant hotels, but say it needs to be done in a managed way. Helen Keenan is live in Cheshunt for us now, where a protest is underway. Helen.
Well, crowds are already starting to gather here in Cheshunt. Anti-immigration protesters have gathered here because they are angered by the decision today from the government, who have decided they will appeal a High Court ruling. Now, the temporary injunction would allow asylum seekers to be moved from the Bell Hotel in Epping, which is just around 5 miles from here. Now, the government have said that they are promising to end asylum hotels during this Parliament, but that it needs to happen in a measured way. That, though, isn't enough for those planning to protest here in Epping and Canary Wharf over the weekend. A decision for Epping, potentially setting a precedent across the country, that the government has today applied to appeal against. A High Court ruling blocking asylum seekers from being housed at this hotel.
This government will close all asylum hotels and we will clear up the mess that we inherited from the previous government. We've made a commitment that we will close all of the asylum hotels by the end of this Parliament, but we need to do that in a managed and ordered way, and that's why we'll appeal this decision.
In recent weeks, thousands of demonstrators have descended on the Bell Hotel. Protests and counter-protests, with some clashes turning violent, after an asylum seeker living here was charged after allegedly attempting to kiss a 14-year-old girl. Sarah, who has been at the protest, worries what will happen next.
We know that they're going to appeal it, and also our biggest concern is where are they going to put these men? Because are they going to put them into HMOs or Airbnbs? The problem with that is they're then dispersed throughout the community in a lot of places rather than being contained into one area. And this is a massive worry for all of us, you know, but we're not going to stop. And that is the message that we're sending out to the government.
In Epping Forest District Council's case, they successfully argued that the owners of the Bell Hotel didn't have planning permission to allow them to use the building to accommodate asylum seekers. And that decision has led to other councils looking into their options. More than half a dozen councils across the country have now said they were considering similar legal action, since an attempt from the Home Secretary to get the council's case dismissed was refused, and a temporary injunction was granted by the court.
As a council, we've consistently called for the closure of the hotel and been opposed to it. The government consistently ignored us. So when we first objected to the use of the hotel, they ignored us. When we had all the incidents with residents of the hotel, they ignored us. And then when we had the unrest locally, they also ignored us. So we do feel like a community ignored.
The government says it will end the use of asylum hotels by 2029. In the meantime, protests are expected in areas including Epping over the coming days. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
The actor Noel Clarke has lost his libel claim against the Guardian newspaper, with a judge backing its reporting that he harassed, touched or bullied several women. The 49-year-old from Notting Hill denies the allegations. Carolyn Sim is outside the Royal Courts of Justice for us this evening. Carolyn, remind us of the allegations against Mr Clarke.
Well, Noel Clarke first started his legal case against the Guardian newspaper back in 2021 when it published the first of 8 articles claiming sexual misconduct against him. More than 20 women had come forward with allegations. Now, Noel Clarke, who's best known for his role in Doctor Who, of course, had claimed that the newspaper was part of a conspiracy of people that had a grudge against him and were trying to engineer his downfall. But today, in a written ruling, the judge said the articles were substantially true, and she found overall that Clarke wasn't a reliable witness. Well, Lucy Osborne, who's one of the journalists who worked on these articles, told us today that the win is a victory for the women who came to court.
There was nothing obliging them to go to court. They did so purely to support the Guardian and to tell the truth. They displayed remarkable courage in doing that. Being in court every day and watching them was something to behold. It was, they faced very difficult, sometimes quite aggressive questioning about their sex lives, and it took a lot to be able to have to relive what they experienced at the hands of Clarke.
Well, Lucy also said that today's ruling was a landmark for journalism, and she hoped it will act as a deterrent against powerful people like Noel Clarke. The Met Police reconfirmed to us today that it isn't investigating the allegations, but the judge did acknowledge that this case has had a hugely damaging impact on his career and his finances. He now faces a substantial legal bill, and another hearing is planned to discuss court costs.
Carolyn at the Royal Courts of Justice, thank you. A man accused of killing an ice cream seller who was stabbed to death in Wembley has been remanded in custody. 41-year-old Shazad Khan died on Tuesday evening in Monks Park as police responded to reports of a stabbing. 26-year-old Zaha Zarur appeared at Willesden Magistrates Court today, charged with murder and possession of a bladed article. A serving Metropolitan Police officer has been charged with 7 sexual offences, including 4 counts of rape. PC Robert Wing, who is currently suspended, is due to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court next week. The allegations all involve the same victim and are said to have taken place when PC Wing was off duty. A house in Walthamstow that's thought to have been used as a cannabis factory has been almost entirely destroyed by fire. Around 80 firefighters were called to the property on Nebworth Avenue at just before 3 o'clock this morning. Next tonight, it's the Notting Hill Carnival this weekend, a celebration for hundreds of thousands of people who enjoy the annual event on the capital streets. But it is not without its controversy either. As well as the usual concerns over policing and safety, there's the use of facial recognition technology. And for some of the borough's more elderly residents, this weekend means a trip to the coast as part of a council scheme for some much-needed respite. Jay Akbar has more.
If Carnival is the heart of London's summer, the steel drum bands keep it beating.
As we get closer, the excitement is building. I've been doing it for like 15 years now, and to pass it on to the youth, it's great.
Starting tomorrow, they'll entertain more than 1 million people along a 3-mile parade route. The sheer numbers make it a challenging day for the Met. Last year, 349 arrests were made and 2 people killed. This year, the Met is stepping up security measures.
For the first time at Notting Hill Carnival, the Met is going to use facial recognition technology at the entrance, and several charities, including Big Brother Watch, have written to the force to say it'll only exacerbate concerns about the abuse of state power and racial discrimination within the force.
The force assured us today that locals can trust the technology.
It won't be used within the boundaries of Carnival. We've not had anyone who's been unlawfully arrested since we've used live facial recognition. We maintain that it's an effective tool to be able to effectively support people in Carnival and make sure we deliver a safe and secure event.
Many remain to be convinced, including its organisers.
We do have concerns for it, but that's really that's a Metropolitan Police decision.
And trust them to do it fairly.
We'll have to see how it goes. You know, there's been some historical concerns about it.
Matthew first attended Carnival aged 2, so he's best placed to calm concerns about safety.
A real core thing of Carnival is it brings people together.
Yeah.
I personally feel like it heals people. 2020 we had the pandemic, and I think everybody learned how important it was to be around other human beings. You just see the joy on people's faces when they're at the event. It does so much for people's well-being.
It can be too much for some older locals like Stuart and Christina, who made do with a mini carnival yesterday. Thanks to Age UK in Chelsea and Kensington, they're now off to the seaside.
We do go out together, we have lovely meals in the evening and all sorts of activities. And we chat a lot, and it's nice, you don't feel so lonely.
Hoping the weather's nice, take a few books and just relax.
It can be overwhelming, hopefully this year, for all the right reasons. Jay Akbar, ITV News.
And we'll have more on Carnival later in the programme, including the blue plaque unveiled in honour of one of the pioneers of reggae, and life-saving skills with Mylene class, why the presenter's latest project is very personal. But before all that, check before you travel is the line we always hear before going anywhere on a bank holiday weekend. And today is no different, with nearly 18 million holiday trips expected to be made by car alone between Friday and Monday. And with planned engineering works on train lines, it's going to mean delays for some. Sharon Thomas is here with me now. Sharon, it's going to be busy, isn't it?
It certainly is. Well, for the great getaway for what is the last bank holiday this side of Christmas, it's going to be, sorry about that, it's going to be super busy. Of course, there's a but. There is always a but, isn't there? There's going to be significant number of delays. So let's take a look on the trains first of all. Members of the RMT union are on strike tomorrow, so there's no service on cross-country. In fact, the company has issued a do not travel warning. Avanti West Coast is also running a reduced service from Saturday to Monday. That's because of engineering works. And LNER, which operates out of King's Cross, will see services to Peterborough suspended also because of engineering works. Now, on a more local level on the trains, there is disruption around the Bexley Heath and the Lewisham area. Our old friend engineering works again. On London buses, there are likely to be delays, cancellations, suspensions. So do check before you travel there, as you mentioned earlier. And on the roads, it's going to be super busy. So all of those people who can't get on the trains will obviously be taking to their cars. So the advice is to leave early. So set your alarm for 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Take plenty of water with you in case you get stuck. And a few snacks for the kids wouldn't go amiss either. Always a winner.
Good tips from a mum and a great reporter. Thank you very much, Sharon. Right, let's take a look at the day's sport now.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta refused to talk about Crystal Palace midfielder Eberechi Eze as he met the press ahead of tomorrow's Premier League match against Leeds. Eze has reportedly undergone a medical with the Gunners and is expected to join the club for a fee in the region of £60 million. Away from transfers, Crystal Palace began their first ever campaign in Europe with a win. Eze was left out of the squad, but Palace still managed to beat Norwegian side Fredrikstad 1-0 in the first leg of their UEFA Conference League playoff. Jean-Philippe Mateta with the only goal of the game. The Women's Rugby World Cup gets underway tonight, with host nation England taking on the USA. England are hot favourites to win the tournament on home soil, with 82,000 tickets to next month's final at Twickenham already sold. Harlequins and England legend Shauna Brown thinks this is the moment women's rugby emerges from the shadows of the football lionesses. She's been speaking to Graham Stothard.
This is for the girls who were told this game wasn't for them.
We are now just hours away from a Rugby World Cup predicted to be among the biggest of all time.
For the girls who refuse to be defined.
To say fans, players and former players are excited would be an understatement.
I am truly more excited about this World Cup than I was when I was playing.
Least of all, Kennington-born ex-England prop Shauna Brown.
The opening game has not even happened yet, and we've sold over 350,000 tickets, and the final is gone. Like, tickets are sold out for the final, so it's just completely wild.
Do you think we're at a point now where there's not really men's rugby, there's not really women's rugby, there's just rugby?
Yeah, that's my dream, and to just celebrate rugby. And yes, women's rugby and men's rugby is different, and I'm okay with saying that out loud, but I want to see it where we just say the World Cup's on this summer. You don't necessarily need to know the gender.
Keep coming back, keep coming, stand up now!
Before Shauna turned to rugby, she was a champion hammer thrower. But she's also been a commercial diver, even a gas engineer and a firefighter.
People say, oh, stay in your lane, know your place. When society puts you in a box, and I'm like, nah, it's too small for me, it's wrong shape. And, you know, I'm from a state school, single parent family, mixed race, female, like no A-levels. My stats on paper say I'm not supposed to achieve. But when I talk to the little me, it's that piece around just do what you want because you want to do it. Like, don't let society and culture constantly put you in that box or tell you to stay in that lane.
Hi, Leah Williamson here.
Other sports stars are willing the red roses on.
I just want to hand over to the red roses.
Lioness Leah Williamson among them. Shauna hopes England rugby can follow England football's lead and claim some silverware.
We saw what the Lionesses did. They're passing the baton on. This tournament is going to change women's rugby across the globe forever. Like, this is setting the bar. This is going to be the greatest show of women's rugby ever. This is the generational moment that will just propel us forward.
As the Red Roses step out onto the pitch.
So who is she backing to be the champions?
May the strongest girls win, but I've got a feeling I know who that's going to be.
What's the tip? Come on.
Top tip, don't tell anyone. Red Roses for the win.
Twickenham, 27th of September. We'll see if that prediction becomes reality. Graham Stothard, ITV News.
Let's see what's on the evening news now. Here's a look ahead with Lucrezia.
Coming up on tonight's ITV Evening News, the government will fight the closure of the Epping Asylum Hotel in the courts as more protests are planned for the weekend. Baby food manufacturers told to cut salt and sugar and stop promoting snacks for babies under the age of 1. And we're in Sunderland ahead of the Women's Rugby World Cup, which kicks off tonight. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, my guest tonight is a familiar face to ITV viewers. This, of course, is Myleene Klass, the musician. She's also a TV presenter and health campaigner. But now, another string to her bow, she's become a fully trained on-site volunteer for St John Ambulance and an ambassador for the charity. And Myleene is here with me now. Myleene, welcome.
Thank you so much.
How did you get involved with St John Ambulance then?
Well, I've been an ambassador for St John Ambulance for many years now, but I actually wanted to put the fact that I was spreading the word as to people getting trained. I wanted to make sure that I put my money where my mouth is and got trained up myself. So I'm now an officially trained first aider. And once you've learnt the skill set that requires, you then start thinking, gosh, how can this not be obligatory? Everyone should have the chance or the knowledge to be able to save a life, because more often than not, it's going to be you that's going to be saving a loved one.
And now you really want to get people involved, don't you?
Very much so. We're looking to, let's say, recruit, shall we say, 300,000 new members, new first aiders. We'd like to give them that knowledge for free. All we're asking for is their time. So if they go to the St John Ambulance website, like I said, it's for free. All the things that we promise our loved ones that we'll do for them, and then actually when it comes to being able to save their life and committing those few minutes, especially as a mother myself, and you see the amount of scrapes and situations your kids get themselves into, you want to feel empowered and capable. You do not want to be in a situation where you are completely helpless.
You had this training,
Yeah.
and then very quickly you got to put it in use at a public event. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
2 weeks ago, I actually saved a man's life. I helped to save a man's life, and I was joined by the rest of the St John Ambulance team of paramedics and doctors and ambulance staff. But to be first on the scene and to be asked to perform something called a jaw thrust.
What's that?
It's a way of manually opening airways, and to be able to help that person to breathe. And so, a matter of weeks ago, I wouldn't have known how to do that. So it's extremely humbling to have been given those skills by St John Ambulance and to have been trained up myself. So to actually sit here and say, look, it works. There's now somebody walking around who has their family around him who are extremely grateful that I've got those skills. But I'd like to also in turn have you have those skills, for example. We should all be able to save each other's lives.
Yeah, I imagine if something happened to someone, it would be a real sort of fight or flight moment, wouldn't it?
But you don't want the regret of, gosh, you know what, for those 5-10 minutes that I could have logged on and just done a first aid course for free. You don't want to have that regret sitting on you. And it's not to guilt people into this, it's actually to empower them. Family members getting together in the next few months towards Christmas, the summer holidays where kids are just doing their own thing, loved ones or people on the train when you hear call-outs, is anyone medically trained here that can help? That could be you. You could be the difference between saving somebody else's life and that empowerment. If you think that, there's bleeds, heavy bleeds, cardiac arrests, choking. My own children, I've had to also save them from choking. You just want to be able to empower, and it's completely for free. So come on, sign up today. St John Ambulance is waiting for your call.
On their website. Let's talk about you for a moment, Mylene. You got an MBE this year for your services campaigning for women's health and for miscarriage awareness. Tell us about that moment.
Well, we've just managed to get the law changed, so now women will get bereavement leave in the workplace, and that's just the beginning because there's so much that needs to change in the way that women's health, which is very much the last taboo. Nobody wants to talk about miscarriage and losing babies because it's such a difficult subject, but it's one that really does need to be addressed. So the fact that it's now out there in the public domain, people are talking about it, and being able to give them the help that they so badly deserve. It feels like we're giving a well-deserved legacy to the voices that never got a chance to speak.
It's great you're spreading that around, but it was for you, for your role in doing it. You had a lovely celebration, didn't you? A gorgeous cake.
Yes.
I mean, look at that.
It's a very big cake, but I did have a lot of people there who, look, I didn't do it alone. I didn't campaign alone.
Of course.
So that's the whole team there. That's when the village comes together. And, well, what's a celebratory party without some cake?
Wonderful. I'm going to say thank you very much, and thank you to St John Ambulance. And before we go, how good are your air guitar?
Oh.
As a musician, you see, it's the flourish, isn't it? All right, Stay, you might want to have a look at this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mylene. Here are the Air Guitar World Championships in Finland. Unfortunately, it wasn't the night Piers Burnell from Henley was hoping for, though. He was one of 30 hopefuls at last night's qualifiers. Sadly, his rendition of Double Air 7 failed to make it through to tonight's final, but at least it rocked his weekend. His bank holiday weekend. What will the weather be like? I think we've got some sunshine heading our way. Let's have a look at the forecast now with James Wright.
Today sees sunshine, sand and a spell of bamboo rafting. TUI sponsors ITV London weekend weather.
Hi there, good evening. Not a bad end to the week. A little bit cool in places, but what's happening over the bank holiday weekend is quite interesting. High pressure dominating. That is going to move a little bit further eastwards over the coming days. What's more interesting is what's going on in the Atlantic. The jet stream is pulling this little feature here. That is what will become ex-Hurricane Erin. Not really impacting us too much, but it's certainly going to help make things a lot warmer as we head into next week. As far as tonight go, variable amounts of cloud around and about. Very little in the way of a breeze, so it's going to feel relatively mild. Where you get some clearer spells, you might see temperatures dipping a little bit lower than the ones on the screen here. So Saturday, generally set to be a more cloudy day than today. Could get a little bit of drizzle. You can see a little spot there behind my head. As far as temperatures go, they're actually not looking too bad. Looking at highs of 21 or 22 Celsius. We're still drawing in that slightly cool air mass in from the northeast. As that high moves away, we start to get some dry air in from the continent. Should be a brighter day on Sunday. So of course it's the Notting Hill Carnival through the weekend. So temperatures 24 Celsius, nice and comfortable on Sunday. Monday 26 Celsius, lots of sunshine around. And then Bank Holiday Monday itself could be topping out at 27.
TUI sponsors ITV London weekend weather.
As promised, let's go back to Carnival, and this year's festival opening will be marked by a special blue heritage plaque honouring one of the pioneers of reggae, Barrington Von Adams, better known as Daddy Vigo. 10 years since his death, his sound system, the People's Sound, along with his shop in Ladbroke Grove, remain instrumental in making Carnival what it is today. Sia Malley reports.
Pioneer recognised by a plaque. Barrington Von Adams, better known as Daddy Vigo, was a reggae legend in Notting Hill. Sound Systems is where he started, and it's this record shop where his legacy now lives.
My dad, he kind of brought Sound System to England. So when I think about records and music, CDs, straight away I think about my father and what he's done with it. So yeah, and I've got a love of music because of it.
Daddy Vigo arrived in the UK from Jamaica in 1956 and set out to become a central force in its emerging reggae scene. He worked as a selector for the UK's first sound system before launching his own, the People's Sound. In the late 1980s, he opened this record shop in Ladbroke Grove. Now, the Nubian Jack Community Trust is commemorating his impact in Notting Hill.
So I've done 117 plaques. I've done plaques to Bob Marley, Dennis Brown, Claudia Jones, of course, who was one of the founders of the Carnival, and of course Ronnie Laslett. There's a number of very important people, but when it comes to sound systems, Daddy Vigo is the god.
Over 2 million people will be descending on this street here in Notting Hill for Carnival weekend. You can hear it's quite loud, but it's gonna get louder, and the party's kicking off today at the People's Sound System.
Although Daddy Vigo won't be here to celebrate the 59th Notting Hill Carnival, his love for music and culture lives on. Siham Ali, ITV News.
Just before we go, a 6-year-old has become Britain's youngest ever zookeeper. Max Evans-Browning has been helping the team at Chessington World of Adventures for the summer holidays. It's after his drawings in celebration of Sir David Attenborough's 99th birthday went viral. Max has been working with specialist trainers across the park, learning to feed and conducting health checks. He says his favourite animals are giraffes, although he's also fond of Bolivian squirrel monkeys. And that is it. Enjoy the long bank holiday weekend, whatever you're doing. Lucrezia is here next, though, with the national news. From all of us in London, thank you for watching. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.